Hi everybody, this is Johnny. I'm going to talk through CalTPA Cycle 2, Rubric 2.8, and we're on to Step 3, which is Reflect. The essential question: how does the candidate analyze formal assessment results based on the rubric and identify and describe emerging learning patterns and trends for the whole class in relation to the learning goals? So what's important here is analyzing the formal assessment, and we're looking for patterns and trends that point to the learning goals. Let's look at Level 3. Level 3 is the base level we want to work towards. It contains the most. And just a reminder, you must meet all the requirements of Level 3. Missing one of the requirements of Level 3 might move you down to a Level 2 score. Let's look at the text. You can see there's two blocks here, first block and second block. Top block says, candidate's analysis of the formal assessment results accurately describes performance for the whole class in relation to the rubric and identifies emerging learning patterns and trends for the whole class in relation to the learning goals. So the musts for this rubric: you want to analyze results based on the rubric. Remember, you have a rubric for self-assessment, for informal assessment, and here, importantly, for formal assessment. And of course, from the get-go, you want to make sure your rubrics are written in relation to the learning goals. Think about the rubric descriptors as mirror images of your learning goals. You want to describe the results for the whole class. You want to describe learning patterns and trends. And now think about considering patterns and trends across any specific rubric criterion. Okay, so if you have a rubric criterion that's based on a specific learning goal, then you can talk about the whole class, how they did in relation to that learning goal based on your rubric descriptor and the results on the formal assessment. Think also about patterns and trends clustered among groups of students, right? So you can imagine after you've built your results table, you can say, 7 out of 22 of my students were able to do this, or 15 out of my 30 students were not able to do this, and each one of those descriptors is related to a specific rubric criterion which points to a learning goal. All right, let's take a look at the second block. Assessment rubric clearly aligns with the learning goals and enables the candidate to score student work consistently. There are two pieces here, musts. First one is the rubric criteria align with the learning goals. Again, your criteria need to be mirror images of your learning goals. The second one, the rubric descriptor, it needs to be specific and clear enough to make possible consistent and reliable scoring. Okay? So if you have vague learning goals and then you have vague rubric criteria, then as you're marking students' work or evaluating students' work, you might not get good results. You might not have clear results. It might be a little bit fuzzy. So you want to make sure things are specific and clear enough so that when the students present their work to you, you can really clearly evaluate it. So make sure things are clear and clean and tidy and neat in terms of your rubric descriptors. Let's look what happens if we go a step up. This is Level 4. In Level 4, you can see there are two blocks here. Reading the first one, candidate accurately describes learning patterns or trends for the whole class and individuals, citing clear evidence from the 3 student work samples. Now, backing up just a bit, remember, Level 3 is the one you're shooting for, but Level 4 is sometimes just a bit of a step up. So on this one, the move from Level 3 to Level 4 is about moving from whole class to individual students and representing those individual students with your 3 student work samples. That's the move you need to make. So the musts, most important, evidence, evidence, evidence. Right? Your student work samples need to demonstrate how your evaluation of their work fits with the learning goals through the rubric criteria that you've set out for your formal assessment. Okay, so you want to talk about, and my suggestion here is citing specific passages, that's your evidence, from your 3, and I say all 3 student work samples. All right, that's the move to make there. So that's a must. In the second block, candidate identifies students' partial and developing understandings of content based on assessment findings. All right? So your musts here: identify what students did not quite get. Okay? And you want to describe these things in positive ways. So when it says students partial in developing understanding, you don't want to be describing their work in terms of what they did not get and what they're not able to get or did not succeed at. You want to be thinking about any place where students have a misunderstanding as a learning opportunity for them, not a fault in the students. So a big thing in CalTPA is you don't want to have deficit language. You don't want to be talking about students as incapable. You want to talk about students in terms of what they are doing, what they might be misunderstanding, and what needs to be done to get them to a place of understanding. Okay, very positive all the time. All right? And in this one, what common misunderstandings did you find? Again, use passages from student work samples. Evidence, evidence, evidence throughout this particular rubric. Let's take it up one more step to level 5. And this one's much more abstract, and we'll do our best by this one. In level 5, you'll see that there are 2 blocks here. All of levels 3 and 4 plus. Formal assessment, product, process, or performance is used to advance and deepen students' learning through analysis and transfer of knowledge. All right, so a way to think about this one is a must. The assessment itself should push students' learning, not just recitation. So if you have a really worthwhile assessment, a certain kind of project could be richly engaging for the students that actually pushes them to think more deeply about things, to deepen their knowledge. So think about the quality of the assessment itself or the kind of assessment itself as an opportunity to push students to express their learning in a more deep fashion and to be more deeply engaging. So hold on to that one. Okay. The second block, assessment is administered in a transparent and intellectually safe way that celebrates student progress, allows students to take risks, and clearly supports growth for all students as they strive to meeting learning goals. And musts on this one. Okay, so think about assessment in your classroom as not something that's on the side that you do when you need to just get measurements or information from kids, but is integrated into the learning cycle itself. So the kids begin to understand that assessment is part of their learning, that their self-assessment, how they respond to informal assessment, and even the formal assessment is somehow being used by you and by them to make the learning better for everybody. So in a transparent and intellectually safe way, right? It's not something that's onerous, it's something meant to push and better learning. So what I have here, assessment is presented and shared with students as a mean to better learning, not just for evaluation. Okay? An important thing is learning represented on assessment is celebrated. All right? And assessment and assessment process encourage students to take risks and push learning. All right. So for level 5, you'll see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 requirements for level 5. Now, in terms of evidence, there are 2 things. First one is formal assessment responses from your 3 students. So your student evidence, and the second part is how you write about that. Okay? Your own reflection and analysis of those things. And those are the places where you'll demonstrate all this good use of formal assessment to better your teaching and students' learning. All right? Hope this was helpful.